Page 19, we have a gift segment. Sassy Spring Gifts. Do you like to give food gifts? I like to get food gifts. So I've got 3 recipes for you, and we'll show a neat little way of packaging them up. But the first thing we have is raspberry barbecue sauce. It's on page 19. We start here. I've got some raspberries. You can see that. I've got some raspberries. You can do fresh or frozen because you're going to cook them and smush them down, so it really doesn't matter. Then we have roasted garlic. Now to roast garlic, you take whole garlic cloves, peel them, of course, put them in some foil, drizzle a little olive oil, and wrap them up really tight. And at 425, put them in the oven at 425 for about 15-20 minutes, and they'll turn brown, and they're really, really sweet at that point. So it really just changes the flavor. So we'll put 3 cloves in there with our raspberries. Also, I have brown sugar, crushed red pepper, salt, pepper, and a little bit of onion powder. And then I have balsamic vinegar, corn syrup, molasses in here, and also a little bit of lemon juice. So you want to let this cook until it's bubbly and thickened. And that's why I'm saying earlier you didn't have to use fresh, you could use frozen raspberries because you're going to smush them up anyway and break them apart. So it's perfectly fine to use the frozen. They're already kind of juicy anyway when you let them thaw out. So we're going to let that cook just a little bit. All right, so once your sauce has simmered, you take a potato masher and you're going to break up any bit of the raspberry that's still left. Of course, you're also smushing up that garlic. Do not take a food processor to this because you're going to puree the seeds at that point, and then you won't be able to strain them out. They will go straight through the holes in the sieve. So you just want to mash it with a potato masher and then strain it with a wire strainer. Put a little bit in it, push it through, put a little bit more, push it through, because basically what you're doing is you're keeping the seeds out. So, and then you can package that up in a jar to give to a friend. Of course, you could use it for grilling, whatever. Lime is not just for drinking, and it's not just for summer. It's a great ingredient to cook with, especially when you want to add a splash of lime. So we have Bud Light Lime. It's going to go straight into our creamy jalapeno soup on page 12. And first of all, it is a family-friendly recipe because alcohol will evaporate off as it is boiling. So at 170, you're going to boil off the alcohol and be left with just some great flavor. So to start this recipe, I've got some melted butter here. We're going to saute jalapenos, 3 jalapenos, seed them and chop them. Then you're going to have some onion. And then we're going to have some carrot. You want to saute those around until they're tender. In your gift bag, you all have a little Bud Light Lime keychain. We've got a little swoosh of green on there, the logo there. You can buy it in the can. Also, anywhere beer is sold, Bud Light Lime is sold, but in the can they're bright green. Then you have your bottles that have a swoosh of green on there. I like saying that word, swoosh of green. And of course I like green, so I match. But it does have 100% natural splash of lime, so you're going to get that great flavor. It's wonderful to use in marinades, salad dressings, and of course we're just going to add this great flavor into the soup. Now if you don't want to use the Bud Light Lime, you can definitely just replace the amount with all chicken stock. That's totally fine. You need to do that. We're going to saute this until it gets nice and tender. And then we're going to add some flour to this. Now, beer is carbonated, of course, so when you're putting it in your soup, the carbonation is going to lend itself to like a creamy mouthfeel. It really makes it nice and smooth. And this is a pureed soup, so don't think about having to eat it with a spoon. Think about being able to drink it out of a coffee cup or something, because it's going to puree these vegetables down and make a nice smooth soup. And it's not a thick soup, it's thin. So once those are tender, put in our flour. Now, when you're working with peppers, always wear gloves because you're going to get the oils on your hands, and no matter how many times you wash your hands, it's not coming off. It's got to wear off. So if you wash your hands 10 times and you scratch your eye is going to burn. And you're going to wonder, how in the world, I've been washing my hands all day. So wear gloves, protect yourself, and wear those gloves when you're working with peppers. All right, so once we cook this flour just a little bit, Sheila, you're going to come help me like we did. I'm going to whisk and pour the chicken stock first. Okay. So while I'm whisking, pour in slowly because we want to, what we've done with that flour, because we had the butter in there, we created a roux, and so it's a little bit of a thickening agent. I actually did more flour instead of what it called for 2 tablespoons. So I did about 3. You can go all in with it. Thank you. All right. So, and if you decide you want it a little bit thicker, you can always add it in at the end. If you see that it's not as thick as you wanted it, just add it in with the, we're going to do half and half, so just put a little flour in with that before you pour it in. That'll be fine. Now we're going to do 2 bottles in here.
Are they cold?
Yes. And you can't have it.
I got it right home.
Everybody will be Nancy Shue if you start drinking the Bud Light Lime. All right, so we're going to let this come to a boil, and then you want to reduce down and let it simmer. And you are going to draw a name because we have a door prize to give away.
For the Bud Light Lime?
No.
For the Bud Light Lime, that winner is Michael Thomas.
Let me show you what the prize is. It's a Bud Light Lime chair. So you can sit in your Bud Light Lime.
She said I love food. She looked square at me.
They are going to get a little testy with that, aren't they?
Each time I draw one.
Do what?
I make sure I mix too, because remember last year?
Yeah, they will holler at you. So once you've let it simmer for about 30 minutes, it is going to reduce down some. Now, at this point in the recipe, it says that you need to strain the vegetables off and puree them and put them back in. That is entirely too much work. You take your immersion blender and you puree it right in the pot. Instead of transferring hot liquid and vegetables, that's just, you don't need to do that. So that's what this is for. You do this right in. I mean, if you want to leave a little bit of the pieces, that's fine. You know, give it a little bit more texture, that's totally fine. We're just going to puree. I love my immersion blender. If you don't have one, you should get one. Because I really don't know how I cooked before, because I use it for everything. Everything, because it comes with different attachments too. Alright, so that looks good. And then, this is where you're going to stir in your half and half. Now, if you wanted to make it thicker, this is where you put a little flour in there and stir that in. Alright. And then we're going to do some cilantro. If you're allergic to cilantro, you should just leave it out. If you don't like cilantro, you can leave it out too. Cilantro is one of those things that it's not, oh, I kind of like cilantro. It's either you do or you don't. There's no in between. How many of you do not like cilantro? The ones that don't like the cilantro, does it taste like soap? Yes, that's what I hear. I love it, so it doesn't taste like soap to me. But that's one of those things, it's just like either or. It's fascinating to me. All right, so we chop that up. We're going to stir that right in. Or you can, if you like having a party and you don't know if anybody, you know, everybody likes cilantro, if there's some allergies or whatever, just leave it on the side and they can sprinkle it in if they want. You can also sprinkle in cheese, or you can garnish with cheese on the side. You can garnish with some fresh jalapeno if you would like. You can even put a little garlic in there with the onion if you wanted to. So we're going to serve this up. Now we will package the rest of this soup up for you to take home, the winner to take home at the end of the show, but I wanted to put a little bit in here, put a little cheese on there, and we'll send the rest of the cheese home too. That's my idea of a little bit. And there you have creamy jalapeno soup.